Welcome back to my channel. This is episode 4 of my UC Q&A series, and today I'm going to be talking about networking. This video is going to be broken up into a few different parts: how to make friends, some important apps that you can use to stay connected to your peers, clubs, campus events, and developing relationships with professors and TAs. So since my last episode of this series, it was actually announced that UCR is going to be having fall quarter in person at about a 75 to 80% capacity. So because of that, I'm going to gear some of these responses towards online learning, and then also I will include segments that are geared more towards in-person learning, since the current freshmen and incoming freshmen have never seen the campus before. So I hope that this is helpful, and let's get right into it. Clubs are great for making long-term connections because you're grouped with people who already have similar interests as you, whether it be a sports-based or volunteerism-based or cultural-based club. You know that you already have something in common, so this is a great icebreaker right off the bat. Highlander Link is your go-to website to explore the clubs on campus and hear a little bit about what they do. Also, in years past, the first few weeks of school, clubs would put some booths and tables around the bell tower with pamphlets and some free merch related to their organization. You could actually meet with people inside the org to hear firsthand what it's like and get a feel for some of the people there. I suspect that this will continue in fall in some sort of capacity, maybe more spaced out than previous years. If you're not comfortable in person though, almost every organization on campus also has their own social media presence, so you can kind of scope them out online, see pictures from previous events, and see if it interests you.
Another way to make connections, like making friends, especially via online Zoom, would be clubs, because there you really are given the opportunity to talk with one another, say your name of who you are, introduce yourself with like those icebreakers and stuff. So that's a way you get to know people who attend your college. Otherwise, it's just like you just see their name in lecture. It is sometimes a little weird having clubs on Zoom. Sometimes it's funny because sometimes not everyone has their mic turned off when they join in. I actually did join a Christian club, which was really nice. And I joined a club called Salsa, and you do like community service and you see like different resources people have, and just like you do a lot of volunteer work, which I love doing. Another one I joined was Folklorico, which is a dance club, just because I've always wanted to do that. And yeah, there's a lot of different clubs, but you just really got to narrow it down to which ones you can make time for and are really interested in.
I always recommend joining something that's fun, like obviously managing your time. You got to really know yourself as a student. That's the biggest challenge of being a first year, because like the way you're learning and the way you have to teach yourself things, or find somebody that will teach you those things, it's harder and it's different. So I'd always recommend, like, once you know what kind of student you are, like, don't feel pressure to just be in all these like extracurriculars and community service and all that. Like, make sure to have some fun. Like I'm in a lot of programs, but I also am like in tennis club. Like I enjoy tennis. I'm gonna join next year. I'm planning on joining like a cooking club. Like it's something that I'm interested in, and it keeps your spirits high. Take care of your mental health always.
The short list of apps that you should be using to make friends, work together with classmates, and also work on your professional network are GroupMe, LinkedIn, Discord, Reddit, Instagram, and Wildfire. And during your undergraduate experience, that's basically all you're ever going to need to stay connected with your fellow Highlanders. I'll start with the one that probably most of you haven't heard of, which is Wildfire. Wildfire is very similar in format to Reddit in that you see a channel based on your university, so you input that you're from University of California, insert school here, and you see posts from other students at your school. Wildfire is really great for the safety aspect, so there's an option when posting to include that it's a safety alert. Let's say that there's a fire alarm going on campus or a wildfire near campus. The entire campus community will see this alert, and sometimes the alerts come out faster than the official campus reporting system, so it's a really great way to stay informed. And also, it's a wonderful, casual place to make friends. About 3 months into quarantine, someone posted about making a group chat just to meet people and have a space to talk to people, and I joined because I was bored and lonely, and over a year later, we're still friends, and we have a really strong friend group, and I wouldn't have met them if it wasn't for Wildfire. So download that one on the App Store, Android and iPhone compatible. Next, on to Reddit. I don't think I have to explain really what Reddit is, but as far as using it to network with other college students, definitely join subreddits pertaining to your school. For UCR, it's r/UCR. r/Riverside for local updates as well. You can join more general ones like r/college, and Reddit is great because you get a pretty broad variety of content. It's super helpful if you have general questions about classes or registration or professors, but also people show a lot of their personality on there, and you get memes and callouts for friend groups and meetups and all that jazz. So especially during the pandemic, but going forward to include in person as well, if you posted something as simple as "I'm at the hub at 2, anyone want to study together," or something like that, guaranteed you'd get a response. People are super friendly, so definitely use Reddit. Next is Discord. Discord is tailored mostly to classes that you're taking in any given quarter, so especially in this online environment, usually on the first day of class, someone would drop a Discord invite link for that class, and you'd have 50 plus students join. Most admins decide to include channels in their servers to make things easier to navigate, so you'll have a general chat, a homework chat, a lab chat, and usually an off-topic chat. So over the course of the quarter, if you haven't already made friends just by collaborating back and forth with other students, the off-topic chat is really your place to shine. Just as an example from this current quarter that I'm in my thermodynamics class, I extended the invitation to host a group study session in my Zoom room, and I just said, well, I'll be here from this time to this time if anyone wants to show up, and 10 plus people showed up, and now we study together every week, and we have a really nice friend group going and even nicknames for each other, and we even have plans to hang out together when school goes back to normal. So something so simple, just reaching out and saying, does anyone want to come and work together, really helped me make 10 new friends that otherwise I probably would have never met in person. And also, aside from general class chats, there are also huge Discord servers for the UC system and for UC Riverside. There's even some for the specific department that you're in. So for instance, I'm in the Bournes College of Engineering, and there's one for that. What's cool about these huge servers is that you can connect with upperclassmen who have taken classes that you might be currently taking, and you can ask for advice and hear stories about professors. Likewise, with the UC-wide servers, you can get in touch with people across the whole UC system, and this is great for later down the line when you're trying to find internships, or maybe you even want to learn about transferring or apply to grad school at one of these other campuses. You've got a whole network of people that you can ask questions to. LinkedIn is the most professional of the networking / making friends apps that are available. If you want to find other students from your university, you just filter by university, and then eventually the more people you add, the more suggestions that you'll get for more alumni and current undergrad and grad students going to your school. Individualized connection invites is often the best way to make a personal connection with people. Just include a super short bio about yourself and why you're connecting with the other person. Maybe mention something from their profile that caught your eye, like somewhere that they've worked or a certificate course that they've taken, and then if they accept the invite, you've already got your foot in the door. It's good at minimum to keep your profile updated when you get a new job or an internship, but also posting status updates every once in a while shows that you're making an effort to have a good online presence. If you go to a conference or win an award or get accepted to a research team, definitely post about it. It's a good way for potential recruiters to see what you're up to and see what your work ethic is like. And also on that note, if you would like to connect with me, I will drop my profile link in the description below, so go add me and I would love to meet you. Next up is GroupMe. GroupMe in functionality is pretty much identical to Discord, but there's no channels to separate out the discussion. At the beginning of the quarter, someone will send an invite link for a class and yada yada. My biggest advice if you want to make friends on GroupMe is to be a consistent messenger and make a point to reach out to people individually that you may meet from the main chat if they seem cool. You can just ask about their major or maybe their career plans or other classes they're taking, and boom, you're in. It's really that simple. If you can't tell by now, really the key to making friends on apps like these is just intentionality and putting yourself out there and being brave, really. And lastly is Instagram. This is, in my opinion, the best for making friends and even potentially more professional connections alike, depending on the type of content that you post. I say this because in the course of a little under 2 years, I've gone from like 300 followers to over 7,000 just by connecting with mostly UCR students, but also students from other UC campuses as well. Every year on Instagram for the incoming class of freshmen, there's pages moderated by, I'm assuming, either incoming students or current students. I'm not really sure who passes the torch, but Instagram pages for incoming freshmen for each individual UC campus. So for my year, it was UCR 2023 and etc. for other UC schools and graduating classes. Incoming freshmen will submit pictures of themselves with a short description of some kind to the page, telling a little bit about themselves and if they're looking for roommates and where you can message them. If you are a current freshman and you think that the ship has sailed on those accounts because you're already almost through with your freshman year online, so it's too late to reach out to people, that is wrong. That account is basically a living, breathing Rolodex of people who put their contact info right on there. So you can message anyone from that page and just say, hey, I know that this is super late, but I'm tired of being lonely at home, and I saw your post on there, and just introduce yourself. With school going back to in-person soon, after over a year of online school, I know that there's a ton of people eager to make friends, especially if you're a current freshman at a UC who hasn't made friends yet this year. It totally happens, I understand, so use Instagram to your advantage. I would also recommend that you follow UC-associated accounts for your specific campus, so like the events page, the leadership pages, the library page, even fraternities and sororities, basically just anything that will help you feel more integrated with campus life. So next, I'm going to talk about on-campus events, but I want to put a big disclaimer on here that we still don't know what fall quarter is going to look like, even though we did get that announcement about fall quarter being 75 to 80% capacity in person. I personally don't suspect that we'll be able to have campus events just because when you look across the country, we don't really see big music festivals or anything like that still happening. I think that it would probably be irresponsible to have a big event like that, so I think that if they do continue in any capacity next year, that it'll probably be remote like it has been this year. So if you don't know anything about campus events, basically the big 3 events that we have every year are Block Party, Winter Solstice, and Spring Splash, and they invite artists to come perform for everybody, and it's basically like a big music festival that lasts about 4 or 5 hours. So during the pandemic, those events have been online, and it was through a Vimeo link, and basically it was live streamed, so the artists, they would shout out, you know, UC Riverside or something like that, but there wasn't really interaction with the artists and the rest of the students. It was basically just a live chat where students could interact with each other. My personal suspicion, like I said, I think it'll probably be the same for fall quarter unless there's some type of really strict mask mandate and really strict vaccine mandate, but we'll see. But let's assume that I'm wrong and maybe campus events are able to happen sometime in the next school year. Campus events are a really great way to meet people, especially because of the fact that we're getting out of the pandemic and people want to make friends and people want to get out there and they want to get rid of that post-quarantine social anxiety. I would really recommend using the downtime during the events to either reach out to people online and say like, hey, who wants to meet up near the rock climbing wall? Or even just as you're waiting in line for an attraction or waiting in line for food, just say hi to the people in front of you, the people behind you, or look for someone who looks like they're by themselves maybe, or not with a huge friend group where it's intimidating to walk up to them by yourself. If you can, come to events with 1 or 2 other people, or just try to make a point to reach out to people that look a little bit more approachable, or someone's by themselves. But either way, campus events are such a really great way to meet people, and I've met so many friends just walking around and mixing around at these campus events myself.
UCR has like really great events. And just like attending all of them, you know, having fun, getting a group together. You have to really like go out and like try, like just reach out to people, because like in college everyone's like really friendly and they all want to do something. So definitely just making the first step, and eventually like you'll just have all these friends in different groups and different places, and it's amazing.
I just wanted to give some tips about making friends. I like to think that I'm pretty good at it, especially in the light of the fact that we've been isolated for over a year. It is okay to be awkward, it's okay to be scared and anxious, because ultimately probably more people than you realize feel the same way, and they're just waiting for someone else to make the first move. So just force yourself to put yourself out there. You don't have to be an extrovert to be the one to say hi or to get a conversation going. They're not going to judge you if your one-liner doesn't roll off the tongue as smooth as you intended, or if you stumble over your words. And just keep in mind how big college is, and the fact that even if something does go wrong, there's a good chance that you'll never even see that person again. So just put yourself out there.
As I transitioned out of my first year into second year, it's those friendships, those relationships, whether it's friendships or professional relationships that I made afterwards, were what I think kind of gave me more guidance as I went through, because after that everyone's on their own. Everyone's in either their on-campus or off-campus housing, and it at one point it did get lonely, but that's why. But I think at the same time you're able to really hone in and really flourish those specific relationships that you have. And I would say like, it's crazy to me, but one girl that lived under, like in the first floor, I was in the second floor, but one girl that lived underneath me, I had no idea that she would be the person that I would depend on now as a fourth year chemistry student. She's a geology student, but me and her, like, we're like this, and I'm so grateful.
What happens in college is that you know about a program, or you get into something, or like you just learn about something by knowing someone in there, you know, like many times it's like, oh, hey, have you heard about this? Well, hey, like look it up, apply, like, and that's how you find out about a lot of really cool programs.
It's ultimately been super hard to make friends or connections because you're online, and usually most people don't even turn on their screens. You make the group chats, but the most you do is just follow each other on your socials, if even that. Have I made any new friends at UCR so far? Maybe I would say I've made like one or two. You would personally reach out to them on social media. Like one of them, she did to me because we were the same major, and so she had some questions, and like I would say like that's how we like kind of like grew a connection and like made a bond. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so glad I finally made a friend at the end of the quarter. And she was like, yeah, me too, you have no idea. So it was just like kind of being in like that same boat. That was like just really funny because it's tough to make friends and interact with people online. The other one was because we were planning on housing together, but because of COVID it didn't happen. But since we one time got to talk on the phone, we now have like that connection. But yeah, not unless you really reach out on social media. If you have like a question or something, will you really have the opportunity to make a friend, because otherwise you just don't really have that chance to.
Obviously, during the pandemic, our modes of communication have had to change a lot and modernize with the new world, and the same goes for our interactions with professors and TAs. I've seen the biggest change in how office hours are facilitated, and I would say that honestly, it's easier now to reach our professors and TAs outside of class than it was with in-person learning. This is because before, your professor would maybe host office hours for about an hour and a half, one day a week in either a different classroom building or an office building, and that was your one opportunity pretty much that you had to interact with them unless it was going to be over email. Versus now, you can schedule appointments outside of office hours on Zoom because of the fact that everything is so easy to facilitate. Usually professors are having office hours more than one day a week for longer periods of time if there are students willing to go. I'm seeing students utilize office hours a lot more now than they used to when things were in person. I personally suspect that this is because in person there used to be this thing about professors seeming intimidating when you went to office hours because it's just you one-on-one with someone that has a doctorate or a PhD or a master's degree in their subject, so it can be a little bit scary. But now with Zoom, the fact that everything is very low accountability, you have the option to turn your camera off if you're not comfortable with it on, you have the option just to talk with them. It makes things a lot easier. And as I mentioned, professors are available more hours out of the week and more days out of the week because they recognize that students have obligations outside of class. Maybe they have to help with house chores now that most of us are back home, or they have multiple jobs to help support their family. But I would argue that it's never been easier for a student to form a more individual relationship with a professor or with a TA because of the fact that Zoom makes everything so easy. I know that Zoom fatigue is real and that no one wants to spend all hours of the day on Zoom, but it's really worth it if you put in that extra time to go to office hours or to try to schedule an appointment one-on-one, because the professors and the TAs now really do notice who puts in the effort. And most professors actually don't recommend turning cameras on during lecture because they're trying to preserve the bandwidth of students. So if you do put in the effort to go to office hours outside of class, show them who you are, see that you're not just a name on a screen, they really do notice, and they're more open to not only just helping you in the class if you need help with content, but also maybe later down the line you need help finding a research position, or you need a recommendation for an internship or for a fellowship or a scholarship. You would be surprised to see that these little interactions really meant a lot to professors during this pandemic. And that's gonna wrap up this video. I hope that you've been able to learn something useful, and also don't forget to check out the other episodes of this UC Q&A series. This was episode 4 of 5. I've got one more video planned about life as a first-generation college student, and if you've learned something useful, if you like my content, don't forget to subscribe. I've got a ton of other UCR vlogs on my channel. Also, if you have any video requests or if you have any questions about UCR in general, you can comment below or you can send me a message on my Instagram linked in the description below. Until then, I'll see you next time.